We're going over the literary narrative reading test of the questions that have been released online for the enhanced ACT digital test. Beginning the spring of 2025, April 2025, students may take the enhanced version digitally. September 25, anyone taking the test nationally, digitally, or on paper will take the enhanced version. What does that mean for reading? Well, based on this test, 40 minutes, 36 questions. That's a switch. The old test was 35 minutes, 40 questions. And so you get more time for each passage. This particular passage is not even any shorter. In fact, it's based on the June 2023 test. It just has one fewer question per passage. So our strategies as is will still work. If you're fast enough, you can read and answer. That's one of the best strategies if you're fast enough to read. And with the more time per passage, you may be able to finish. You have 10 minutes per passage. So that makes the reading test a bit less demanding by time. I think Google Summary and Answer is a good strategy for most, as that forces you to remember what you read. Map and Answer only works really well in passages 2 and 4. So digital versus paper. The digital test has some advantages. The digital test you'll have to read online and scroll, but it does highlight areas of the passage that you're supposed to look at, where the same question in the hard copy test, the paper test, will tell you what line numbers to look at. So you have to decide which one works better for you. The advantage of the hard copy test, the paper test, is that you can also write on the paper. You can highlight and make notes on the digital test, but it only saves your notes per question, your highlights per question. We're completing this passage. It's a literary narrative passage, and it has 9 questions. Unless you just want to work through the passage with the videos, go ahead and read and answer the questions, or read, and then we can do the questions together. It depends on your goals for what you're doing as you practice this test. Question number 1, the point of view from which the passage is told. So we have first person and third person. First person means that it is told as it is happening to someone. Third person is somebody else looking in. So it says Andrea was a real estate agent, and so it's describing what someone else might see. So we're going to take out first person. Now we have to decide, is the third person narrator present in the action? That doesn't happen as often. Third person not present in the action, that is what's happening here. So the answer is D. The passage as a whole can best be described as an exploration of the. So you could answer this question last, come back to it after you've answered all the other questions, and this one might be easier. You've read it, you've answered questions. We're going to go ahead and do it though. Passage as a whole can best be described as, and it's really all about a bowl in some way, right? So we have a bowl, and it's really about its effect on people, not a special glaze. So I'd say G is out. It's definitely not about a career of a real estate agent or problems that result from unyielding focus on obtaining material goods. It's about how a real estate agent uses a bowl. So because it affects the people she's selling a house to. So the answer has to be H. Number 3, the passage most strongly suggests that a useful characteristics of the bowl in terms of Andrea's purpose for the bowl is the bowls. So strongly suggest means it's pretty much in the passage somewhere. Remember, all answers in reading can be supported by the text. So we're going to say, all right, if we look in this paragraph around line 30, said the wonderful thing about the bowl, Andrea thought, that is it was both subtle and noticeable, a paradox of the bowl. Something about the color and the random placement suggests motion. People who liked country furniture always commented on the bowl, but it also says it turned out people who felt comfortable with opulence loved it just as much. So really, it's all about anyone appreciates the bowl. And so it's universal appeal, choice A. Number 4, lines 53 to 75, Andrea responds to an inquiry about her bowl and explains why her bowl was placed in a client's home with statements that can be described as generalizations, truths, half-truths, or lies. So it says, Andrea pretended that she did not know. Well, that's not a half-truth. That's a whole lie. It's not vague, and it's definitely not the truth, so it has to be J, lies. Number 5, in the passage, so that's going to explain it to us in the passage somewhere. Andrea is characterized as believing that compared to most tricks used by real estate agents, so more humorous, more obvious, less familiar, less enticing. Those are our answer choices. And so most tricks are about a fire in the fireplace, jonquils on the counter, a scent of spring. But her trick is all about this bowl, right? So the wonderful thing about the bowl is that it's subtle and noticeable. People with opulence loved it. People who like farmhouse loved it. But it was not at all ostentatious or even so noticeable that anyone would suspect. So it's not real noticeable, but it's still something she thinks is making the home interesting. So it's less familiar, right? Nobody's laughing at it. It's not obvious. You're not cooking cookies in the oven, and it's not less enticing, right? She thinks it really makes a difference. So our answer has to be C. Number 6, according to the passage, so we know it's there, we just have to find it. The random placement of colors in the bowl's glaze creates a surface that acts as a mirror, seems to move, appears cracked in sunlight, or scatters prisms on the walls of a room. So we see around line 38, 39, and it says something about the colors and their random placement suggests motion. Motion is a synonym for movement, so your answer has to be G. That one's just tricky to find. Number 7, one of the main points of the 5th paragraph, lines 53 to 62, is that, and this is the one where Andrea gets a call from a woman. We already had a question about this one, right? Was she lying? Was she telling the truth? And she says the woman doesn't even want to buy the house, but she wants to know where the bowl is. And Andrea pretends she doesn't even know. She lies to the woman. So what's the point of it? Is it A, that Andrea's bowl sometimes attracts more interest than does the home itself? Andrea's bowl does not actually belong to her. Andrea is often asked about the bowl when a client puts in an offer, or Andrea sometimes forgets in which room. So in this one, the client didn't even put in an offer but wanted to know about the bowl, so the answer has to be A. Number 8, in the passage, the admiration the bowl receives is directly compared to the admiration received by. So we know it's in the passage. Again, just have to find it. And that's the tricky part, right? In a timed test, even though you get more time with the enhanced version, it's still tricky to find. And it says in the beginning, right, it was as predictably admired as a mutt, who has no reason to suspect he might be funny, right? So it's compared to a mutt, F. Number 9, the passage suggests, we know it's going to be in the passage, one reason prospective home buyers have difficulty sharing their thoughts about the bowl. We're going to see this around line 50, and it says, they always faltered when they tried to say something. Perhaps it was because they were in the house for a serious reason, not to notice some object. So they were not visiting the home for the purpose of noticing the decorative objects, not there for the bowl. So A. Okay, this question was included in the June 2023 test, but it's omitted in the online practice test. It's the question that was deleted from the literary narrative. We're still going to do it. Which of the following statements provides the best summary of the events portrayed in the sentences in lines 77 to 81? So in this portion is where Andrea forgot her bowl, and she's coming back to retrieve it. And it says, she felt like rushing past the frowning woman and seizing her bowl. The owner stepped aside. In the few seconds before Andrea picked up the bowl, she realized that the owner must have just seen it had been perfectly placed, and the sunlight struck the bluer part of it. Her picture had been moved to the far side of the chest, and the bowl predominated. So Andrea is sitting there saying, all right, she's kind of imagining what the woman's going to think or say. So let's just go through and process of eliminate. Choice F, the homeowner first noticing the bowl explains to Andrea. The homeowner isn't explaining anything. Andrea imagines. Choice G, that one sounds right. Choice H, the homeowner tells Andrea. Homeowner's not telling Andrea anything here. Andrea determines the reason the homeowner had not noticed the bulge. She doesn't give any reason, and in fact, she's saying that she thinks the homeowner did notice it. So Andrea is imagining kind of what happened. So G. All right, reach out if you have any questions at all to your teacher. We'll end with our silly joke. What dinosaur could jump higher than a house? The answer is any dinosaur. Houses can't jump. Have a good day.